Unfortunately, the Yankees have gotten off to a horrible start, their worst start since 1997 through 15 games, 5 and 10. And I have on producer of the show, Casey, who we also had on after the Yankees were eliminated against the Rays. And
That's right.
I think that a lot of the issues that we saw then still exist now, probably in some ways even worse.
Yeah, I exactly. I mean, it's more of the same, but right. It's like what have they improved upon? What has it just seems like it's a worse version of that team from last year in a lot of ways. I mean, and I'm sure we'll get into it in more detail, but extremely disappointing start to the season.
Terribly disappointing, and I think it's like a combination of I think that they have just problems in terms of the way Brian Cashman built this team
Yeah,
completely, combined with not being able to beat Tampa. But I almost feel like that's letting them off the hook a little bit to just be like, "Well, it's a Tampa issue, we'll just be fine elsewhere."
right. It's just mind-boggling, Derek, that like the stuff that we were talking about on our, 2020 recap of the year is essentially what we're talking about now. And it's like nothing has changed. They've just, if anything, they've just added on to the deficiencies of the team already by just like picking up like someone like a Jay Bruce, even though I know he just retired, but still like having grabbing him for like a hot minute and now getting like Odor, and it's like okay, great, like people that bat 220 if we're lucky that
Yeah, at best.
maybe can hit a home run here or there, but probably not when it's going to count, or
Mhm.
so I don't know, just a rough go around of things
Yeah,
for sure.
and I think it speaks to, like, arrogance from the top. Not Hal Steinbrenner, but just like that they think they're just stubborn in what they do. They don't it doesn't seem like they learn from their mistakes, and they try to outsmart the Rays. Like, just don't do that. Like, the Rays, like, that's what they are good at in terms of, like, we're gonna go with these openers, like the whole Davy Garcia, J Happ thing, and now, Friday, you have Nick Nelson open for Michael King. I just don't understand that. Like, they're both right-handed pitchers. What's the point exactly? Nelson got rocked the week previous in Tampa. What are you doing there? So just philosophically, I don't get it. And I almost feel like it permeate like, and then you have Aaron Boone, who these players don't take him seriously. Oh wow, Boone, who, he's a puppet of Cashman. Like, there is no doubt about that. And they kind of view him as like the like the not kooky uncle, but just like, oh, like, we don't want to, like, we feel bad that he's upset, but they don't really respect him. It just seems like there's a lack of they just go through the motions, and there's an arrogance to this team that I don't like, that acts as if they've accomplished something. What have you done exactly?
Good point. Yeah, not much, not this currently constructed team. I mean,
No.
yeah, they and I think there's just so many like factors involved. I think, a lot of it is just the MLB, the present MLB, you know what I mean? The way that players are just babied and treated. I think that has a lot to just do with it. And just because of the way that the Yankees are kind of constructed, it just kind of like exacerbates the situation. And yeah, I mean, like, for example, like against Toronto, they go ahead and sit Stanton and LeMahieu because there's this whole thing now where it's like, oh well, we have a day off in between series, so in order to keep these guys well rested, we'll sit them, at the last game of the series so that they have 2 days off. And for someone like Stanton, who is just like, I mean, we could just get into how aggravating his whole situation really is. But it's like the thought that this guy who DHs needs
Right.
like 2 days off to basically swing the bat like like a Neanderthal. I mean, he doesn't have a beautiful. I mean, the only reason why he's successful, like I hate to be like this, but it's like he's built like a brick shit house. So of course, anything he's gonna hit is gonna be like because all these announcers and stuff too are always talking about like exit velocity and all this, like, oh well, Stanton hits the ball and it goes 120 miles an hour, but it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, but like he doesn't hit the ball that much, and like
Yeah.
when he does, it's probably like a home run. So it's not like, I mean, like, what does it really matter? Like exit velocity, if it's going to go out of the park anyway. I mean, like, it's not like, someone's got to like field it, a majority of the time, Stanton is not getting base hits.
Right.
And like it's just like I mean, it's just everything about it with like you see me, I'm getting like worked up. I can't even
Nah,
finish my
hey,
sentences.
I'm
But
about to get
yeah,
there.
yeah, it's like it's just so like nauseating, and and yeah, like the fact that they have to start sitting players. I mean, this early into the season, like what is this? Like, I mean, it's really turned into the NBA in the sense of this load management thing. And, the unfortunately, like, the baseball season's double the amount of games. So, get ready for a lot of load management, because it's going to happen. God.
And it's almost like they're taking it's as if the regular season just doesn't matter to them. Okay, whatever. We'll just sit guys out. We'll be fine. There again, there's like an arrogance to the fact that like, yeah, no worries. We'll sit at our best player. We'll be just fine. And I don't know if they should be acting like that.
Totally not. Yeah, and it's and like you brought up earlier with the whole Nelson pitching thing. It's like this series against the Rays was so like crucial. I mean, forget about the fact that it's like before the series it was like 12 games into the season or whatever. I mean, these series against the Rays are huge. Like this is gonna come bite us in the ass. The fact that we got swept,
Yeah.
this past series, and it's like, oh, like let's experiment with like this guy and see if I mean, it's like to me, that's like this is not the time to do that shit. Do that
No.
against, maybe Baltimore or a team that's, not as good as us or
Right.
whatever. Like you take that risk there, but why are you going to roll the dice in a game against Tampa, who's
Right.
clearly like kicking our ass? Like we need anything in our advantage. Like we're a shittier team than Tampa. So why even put
Yeah.
us even at a more disadvantage by throwing in some guy for like a one inning stint and then he ends up getting rocked. So then we're down 2-0 to
Right.
start off the fucking game anyway. Like, and we can't even hit for shit. So like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
It just doesn't make it's like they're trying to get so cute for no
So cute. It's like
yeah.
it's as if like there's style points also. Like not only do we want to win, but we want to look good doing it too. Like we want to, like you said, get cute. I just don't understand it. And it's just like you watch this baseball, it is bad, ugly, boring baseball. It's terrible. The product sucks. This is like a lumbering, like slow and non-athletic team. You see what they're doing in the field?
Right.
It's a
Right.
joke. I mean, defensively, we're terrible now. Whereas a few years ago, I thought like we were one of the better defensive clubs in baseball. Now, guys are just like not at the position they should be infield wise, and then the outfield, that's a mess too. So
Yeah.
again, it's just like it's all over the place that it's a mess.
Right. It's all, I think, comes down to Boone not being respected because he's essentially just a puppet for upper management and just does whatever they tell him to do because it just seems like you said, like these players just have no desire to really put in any effort. I mean, Gary Sanchez, I guess, is doing better than usual,
All
but it's
right, how
because
sad
he
is that?
literally was going to be kicked out of Major League Baseball if he didn't
Right.
like try and hustle a little bit more. And he's not, I mean, like, he's improved, but let's not act like he's batting 330 or something.
No,
you know, right? For him, it's an improvement, right?
right, exactly. Because he hit those 2 home runs in the first 2 games.
Yep.
That is gonna have more meaning, and to be fair, look, he's been better, but still, he's batting like 240 with 2 home runs,
Yeah.
so it's not like he's been unbelievable by any means,
No.
but it's just
No.
sad that they're 5 and 10 and we're not even really talking about him. So it's
Yeah.
just
It's
it's
really
terrible.
it's mind boggling. Yeah, because and going back to what you were saying about the fielding, like, Glaber at shortstop is just not cutting it, and it's crazy that
No,
he came up as a shortstop, but, I mean, he just
right.
doesn't have the ability. I don't know. He just does not have the
I'm
ability.
holding my breath every time the ball goes to him and then the throw also. It's just like a miracle when it goes smoothly.
Right.
There's no way that that could possibly last, like, I just don't see how, and here's the thing too about Glaber is that this was a guy that hit, I believe, 38 home runs in 2019. In the last 2 seasons, granted, obviously, it was a 60-game season last year, he has 3 home runs.
Right. Yeah.
3.
You could get more in a 60. Yeah.
Like, the
Right.
guy looks lost at the plate too, so it's scary, this whole I mean, we're definitely, like, regressing in a lot of ways.
A
Like, these
lot of ways.
players that were really good at one point are some of them, it's probably just an aberration, but for others, you have to question, like, what are they for the future of this team?
Yeah, I mean, I think they've gotten figured out. Teams have done their scouting and see what works and doesn't. And Glaber and Aaron Judge. I mean, these players that a lot of people put in a high regard. If you see them on a consistent basis, they're usually striking out. It's not. Yeah, sure. Judge will get a little highlight on Sports Center because of those two home runs a few games back. But that. But then again, then he'll go 0 for 4. You know what I
Right.
mean? With a
With
bunch of
3
Ks,
strikeouts. Yep.
with 3 strikeouts and a fly out or whatever. So it's like, yeah, I mean, these people know how to pitch to them, and they're not. They haven't caught up. They haven't adapted. They haven't caught up to what these people are doing to them, or like they know, but they just can't do anything about it. I don't know. I mean, the whole team sucks. I guess LeMahieu is doing okay, but not
Right,
for
but
like
he
LeMahieu standards.
exactly, exactly, even
He's
for
playing like
him.
serviceable,
Right,
right? And then Urshela. I think those are the only two that
right,
you can really like
and
say are. I mean, but like I
yeah,
say, yeah, like we were just saying, it's really not that much, but they're somewhat reliable.
right, and that would be expected, right? I think a among Yankee fans, like, Yankee fans, I mean, us, we like LeMahieu and Urshela, so, like, they would be the ones to, even when they're not playing well, just be serviceable, whereas these other guys, like you said, like, they're all or nothing types, so
Yeah.
just down the line, like, Aaron Hicks,
Oh yeah.
the guy, what is he, like, a career, he must be, and I understand, like, walks are his bread and butter, which, by the way, this year, he's not even walking, but I think he must be what, like a 230s at best, like career hitter. Like, I don't understand what happened. This organization loves Aaron Hicks. And I'm sorry, I don't get it. I don't.
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head in a lot of ways where like I feel like the Yankee upper management is just like does not want to be wrong so bad about some of these players that they're gonna just fucking put them out there and just have them consistently fail and just keep telling us that, oh well, it's gonna get better. Oh no, it's gonna get better. Hicks, we're gonna keep Hicks at the 3 spot, even though he's batting like,
All right.
what, 170
160.
something,
Right.
160, right. Um, but then yeah,
There's no alternatives either. That's the sad thing
and
is that
I was just gonna say, like, there's
where
not
do you
even any
go?
other lefty you could throw in there. I
Right.
mean, I guess they were hoping maybe Odor would have
Right.
done that for them, but
And
he's
then
just, like, not there. He's an old washed up guy, no
right.
offense to him, but,
Right. And here's the thing too, is they make such a big deal about this whole, we have to have like lefties in between Judge and Stanton, but it's like that's kind of you're being hypocrites because you built this heavy right-handed lineup. So basically it's a bunch of righties, and then your worst players are these lefties. It's like so it's a very weird situation where it's like Odor and Gardner and like Talk. It's just strange that the depth pieces are all lefties. So you have no platoon situations. Again, just very odd construction. And I mean, like Clint Frazier, who I'm a fan of, clearly he's lost up there. And I think with him, confidence is a bit of an issue, which in and of itself is a problem. But it's like, of course, he struggles, and it's like, all right, Guardy, you're in. But Aaron Hicks, you can struggle all you want. It doesn't matter. We're gonna plug you right into center field. You got that nice little 3 spot in the lineup. Don't worry, you're fine. So it's a weird dynamic on this team, and I don't see any fire. I don't see the dugout. They just look dead.
yeah. I mean, I'm sure you know what, and I'm also sure, like, I mean, we get on the players because they have a very cushy life, but I'm sure they're probably like sitting there thinking the same thing about like someone like Hicks. They're like, why is he up there? And then like the fact that Boone is so like just like complacent with keeping him in there, and like that probably just adds to it. Just like, dude, like.
Right,
Why the fuck are we trying like this guy is keeping Aaron at the 3 spot?
right.
Like,
Doesn't
I
matter what we
mean,
do.
right, it doesn't matter what we do, and they're not doing much either, but, like, still, I mean, I don't know. It's just such a shit show, and, like, they it's like this we were hoping in, like, that recap we did of last season that they would go out and get some more, like, LeMahieu
Right.
type guys, or, like, just try and
Yeah.
reconstruct things in a certain way where it just wasn't so right-handed power hitting
Yes.
heavy,
Yes.
but it's like they almost just doubled down on it.
Yeah, they
And
did.
it's like we all knew as like, people that watch them on a consistent basis that it just doesn't work. Like yeah, we've had success in the regular season, but anytime it comes down to situational baseball and stuff like that, they just never it never happens.
Right.
It never happens. And I don't know how many times it needs to happen for people to realize. I mean, I really thought that last year was the moment where people would be like, okay, we need to do something different because how is this Tampa Bay team that is how are they kicking our ass this shouldn't happen. We shouldn't be losing in the ALDS to the Rays in this way. I
Yeah.
mean, it's uh, I don't know. I mean, we're in trouble, man. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't think we can beat any of the good teams right now. I
No.
mean, yeah,
No way. Yeah, and from like Hal Steinbrenner's perspective, I think money was a bit of an issue. Like we brought up Michael Brantley, which I think would have been like the perfect fit. And it's just tough to just all right, like I want this guy, let's get him. It doesn't work like that, but he would have been a perfect someone like that would have been a perfect fit for this lineup. And I understand that, we went from like what 240 to I think, we don't want to get above the luxury tax to about 205. And from Steinbrenner's perspective, it's like, look, like you have the Rays at like 60 kicking our ass. So why am I gonna, like
and
what's
you know
even the
what? And he's
point?
absolutely right. I mean, he's absolutely right. I mean, and then you got people like Stanton just eating up all that
Oh my
money to
God.
do what? To
Why
sit on the in the bullpen, and that's on in the dugout. I mean, and just and basically DH, and he's fucking batting 180 as a DH.
question
Yeah,
do
yeah.
you think that he in Stanton's mind that he would really want to get out there in the outfield, or do you think he's content with just being the DH?
I don't know. I mean, body language wise, it doesn't seem like he's in any rush to get out there and prove
Yeah.
anything, fielding wise. I mean, the reason why we brought him here was for his hitting. I mean, when we brought him, he was the NL MVP. And,
What did he hit? Like 59? Did he hit 59 home runs? I think he
right. And
did.
Judge was, yeah, it was insane, and that was the year that Judge hit
Two.
52,
Yeah.
52. Yeah. And, so it was like, oh my God, we're going to get these two guys that both hit the most home runs in the league and yeah, but he can't even do that. So
Right.
I mean,
Stanton was a massive mistake. Like, we both
yeah,
viewed that trade as like, okay, in terms of what we gave up, like you had to do it in that sense. But
right.
he's one of the highest paid players in the game. He's under contract for like another 7 or so years. It's a
It's insane.
disaster. It really
Insane.
is. And it's
Yeah.
it's
And
preventing us from
honestly, I
making
thought
other
we learned
moves.
from because I thought we learned this from the A-Rod deal.
Exactly.
Right. And then
No.
that's why we didn't do the thing with Robbie Cano. And it's like, why did we whatever. I mean, in a way I get it because it was like, you're gonna pass up on Giancarlo Stanton, but at the same time, what was it, 13 years we did for him, the
Yeah,
the
he had
the
already
initial
been right. He had already
contract?
been in a contract for yeah,
Right.
like 13 more
And
seasons or something.
something nuts, and it's just like, I mean, why? It's like these things just never pan out, period,
No.
but for someone like him that's just strictly like a power hitter and he gets hurt a lot, I mean, it's just like,
Yeah.
why?
You're
We already
asking for
have that with
trouble.
Judge. I mean,
Exactly.
and that's another thing too, I feel like we should bring up is just like Aaron Judge and his injury consistency. I mean,
Yeah.
I just don't I mean, I like him in right field, but it seems like that is a big, all of his injuries seem to stem from diving for balls in right field or something, or I don't know. I don't it's like and that's what's so shitty about the whole thing is like because you couldn't even DH him if you wanted to because you got fucking Stanton, that load of shit that, what is he gonna go? He can't go into right field. I mean, I guess, he could hypothetically, but he's an even worse version than
Right. He
Judge.
hasn't even been out there in
So
God knows
right,
how
he hasn't
long.
been in half a century. So
Right.
what do we got? But that's what's so it's like, how can you people not anticipate that something like this may happen with this team, the way it's constructed, you geniuses. Like, how do you not think of this? No, let's go sign Jay Bruce, I mean, I understandably because Voight was hurt, we were kind of
But
whatever, but
still,
it's still like, why?
what are you doing? I mean,
I
Jay
don't know.
Bruce, he's not even a natural first baseman.
Right. And as we could see from some of those scoop attempts or whatever the hell you
Right,
want to call
exactly. It's
them,
one thing if it's like
Yeah.
he's a great hitter and we just, we have an open spot at first, so we got to do it. Like the guy can't hit anymore. It just made no sense. Look, I don't Mike Ford, we saw what he was last year. I don't like him, but like even he would be better. He would be better than Jay Bruce, and maybe we'll see him soon, but like just bad where like if you had some more depth elsewhere, you could plug LeMayu at first. And but Odor is terrible. I mean, the moment we got him, I'm thinking he sucks. Why would you want a guy like that who bats like 150, strikes at a ton, and can't play defense? Like Cashman, like what are you thinking about here? And again, that was savings because Texas like is paying for the whole contract. So, and if you hadn't done like the Stanton move, things would be a little bit easier. Again, it's not all Stanton's fault at all, but I almost feel like at the time it was, oh well, we missed out on Otani. Stan's good, Stanton in terms of like, everyone's gonna watch Yankee games. We got Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge. Like you're not thinking about the future and what's best for this team. And like you said with Aaron Judge, I think he's a free agent after next season. You got to think long and hard about that one. I know there's like Judge's chambers and all that bullshit, but like I would really, really be cautious about giving that guy a long-term contract. I'm sorry
Right.
because
If he's gonna experience a general soreness, every 15 games or so, then
what
it's
again,
like, is
what are we putting the over under on? Like, when's he hitting the IL? Like by the end of April, or is he gonna make it to May?
uh, yeah, no, I think you're right. I'll no, I'm going like late April. I'm going late
Yeah,
April.
I
Yeah, not even early
I
May.
agree. Yep, April
Yeah,
28th, maybe.
he'll swing for the fences and strike out and then pull some oblique or he'll make a dive and bend his wrist backwards. Who knows? Like it's just always something. And that's the other thing too. And it's like sometimes I have a hard time. It's just like because these players are just such like investments now. It's like even if like Judge is like telling them, oh, like I'm just cramping a little bit on the side, they're gonna sit him because he's just so valuable, and he'll end up right. He'll just end up going on the 7-day DL just to like make extra carefully sure that he's okay, but then he gets cold at the bat, because that was the thing, like, with Judge for the last few years, it's like he gets hurt, he's gone for a long amount of time, then he comes back, and then he needs, like, a month to, like, get back into the swing of things, and then, he'll have, like, his one hot month, and then he'll get I mean, it's just, like, it's so predictable, and, I hate to, like, we're saying it, we feel like the same thing's gonna happen again, he's gonna get hurt, and then he's gonna come back in June with the All-Star break or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, if he didn't get hurt, it'd be a surprise.
Yeah, it really would be. It would be a miracle. I mean, it's amazing when you think about his rookie season and then what has happened since then. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, how many games is he like? What was the longest amount of time that he played? Yeah, like yeah,
maybe I mean, maybe like 110. I feel like that I'm probably wrong. Like at least 100 games. But yeah, like he basically you could expect him to play like maybe like 40 to 60% of a season at this point. And then, like you said, because of these injuries, and maybe this is not even being totally fair, or like his effectiveness, even when healthy, quote unquote, isn't even what it was in 2017. So there's that too. It's like the injuries is one thing, but the product on the field, he was a star. He was so good. It was unreal. I haven't seen that same player. Sure, he's better than the rest of these bums, but still.
yeah. I mean, that's why you got to think long and hard about this contract because
And
it's
it's a big
like, I
decision.
mean, it is.
And then what we haven't
Yeah,
even gotten into yet is the pitching. So
yeah. We,
this
God, there's so much. Yeah,
this the starting pitching besides Cole is a
right.
bunch of question marks. And this
Horrendous.
and Cashman, this is year after year.
Right.
He A is not good at developing in-house pitching.
Mhm.
And then B, even acquisitions from other places typically don't work out. Like just in recent memory, Sonny Gray,
Oh, yeah,
James
he's the big one.
Paxton, Jay
Yep.
Happ,
Right.
and Tanaka like was like there was at least some stability with Tanaka where it's like, okay, like, even though there was always the risk of injury, like he basically made his starts, he wasn't as amazing as he was early on, but he would do what needed to be done. Now, Kluber, who knows, Tyone, Herman, it's just
Yeah,
it's a
who just
crapshoot.
got went down, yeah. went down to the minors, right? Herman or whatever. I mean,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
they put him on the alternative side, the alternate side or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
apparently
but
he's gonna be coming up back soon, but
yeah.
and then, like, I'm sure Davy Garcia, they'll fuck that up somehow. Somehow they'll fuck up his development.
They will if they try and do these fucking like pitch the first inning of the game and then sit out thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's gonna shatter anybody's confidence,
yeah, and
Like,
apparently Nick Nelson, I didn't see it, but I heard it that I think even after the game, he might have said, like, "Yeah, I wasn't really fully comfortable being the opener." Um,
yeah, there you go.
and that's again, and I felt like you've heard that a little bit with J Happ.
Yeah, right. It was like the same thing,
These players aren't even on board.
right.
There's just a disconnect here,
And
and
it's also just like, when has this ever been a thing in Major League Baseball ever? Like this whole
right,
idea of like, oh, let's have a pitcher pitch the first inning, and then the real starter's gonna come in the second inning, and it's gonna throw everybody off. Like,
right. The Rays
whoa,
did it. Right, the Rays did it, and it worked for them. Like they started it, but like they're in a different situation. Like they lacked at that time pitching. Like they had good pitchers, but like it just made sense for them because they had injuries and it just yeah. I mean, for us, it just doesn't make sense.
it doesn't. Right, exactly. Like the Rays did it out of like necessity,
Right.
where for us it seems like it's like, oh, like it would be cute if we like tricked them and we're gonna put Delvi Garcia
They
in,
must
but really
laugh.
J Happ is really the pitcher. Ooh, wow,
They
J
must
Happ.
laugh. Oh my
Oh my
god.
god.
Shit, J
Oh,
Happ's coming in.
yeah,
I'm
wow. Oh
shaking
my
in my
god.
boots.
Go hide. Wow. A mediocre pitcher.
It's
Yeah.
laughable. It's really fucking
Yeah.
laughable. Like the way that they go about business is like, who are you guys? Why do you do this? I mean, Brian Cashman, talk about a stubborn prick. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm someone who I really don't like Aaron Boone. Really don't like him. But Cashman is the one that deserves a lot of the blame here. He's the one calling the shots basically across the board.
Yeah.
And until he learns that what he's doing isn't right, the Yanks, like his idea, I think today he said, yeah, better days are ahead. Yeah, Brian,
Right.
in your mind, better days ahead is losing in the LDS. Good, good. That is our peak. That is
Yeah.
the best you could expect is for this to turn around. We make the playoffs and then we'll just face great pitching and score like a run. We'll get like
If
five
we get
hits,
lucky.
just
Yeah.
get embarrassed. Come on. Like it's almost best for this team to lose a ton of games so that changes happen.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like, exactly. If somehow if we were able, like, if we didn't make the playoffs this year, then I really think there is a strong
Boone
possibility
Boone's could be gone at
that
that point.
Boone is definitely gone to
Yeah,
me, and Cashman may be on the hot seat just because of, how disappointed Hal was about last year, and if, like, the
right,
same thing happens again, plus we don't even make it, it would
right.
be yeah, maybe just because
I
of how
hope.
much Cashman has done, it might be tough, but he would then it would be like, "Dude, like, if we fall away, you're outta here."
Yeah,
You know? Yeah.
100%. And here would be the key though. Let's say you got rid of Boone. Then to me, I would want like Buck Showalter. Like, let's just say, as an example, like, all right, that's like an old school manager who's going to run the show. He'll use analytics, but he'll also have feel. But unfortunately, what will happen is that Cashman will just hire another puppet.
Yeah,
And so
another yes
what's
man.
and so then what's the difference at that point?
Right. No, nothing at all. I mean, that's why Girardi had to walk out the door
Right.
essentially, right? And think
Because he had
about
some
it.
spine.
That was really the
That was the
version of the
peak.
team that we have. That was the peak.
I
And that
love
was
that
and that was the
team.
year when we had no expectations.
Yeah.
That year was actually one of the years where we didn't really think much was going to happen.
Yep.
And then we almost won the whole thing against Houston, barring
Yep.
some bullshit trash can cheating bullshit.
Right. That was my
Like,
favorite team.
me too. Me too. And that was when Sanchez was clicking. I mean, that whole team was clicking.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you look at that roster, like that wasn't like an amazing team on paper, but they just, they
Well
knew what to
balanced.
do. Exactly. Like
Didi, I mean, I think that had Todd Frazier too, right? We had
it
Todd
did. It
Frazier
did. Yep. Didi
for what
was
it's
like
worth. Yeah,
big time, had some big home runs in those
right.
playoffs.
Minnesota playing game. I
Yep.
mean, right? That was that year when he bailed us out
Yep.
because Severino couldn't, once again gave up 3 runs in the first inning like he always does
Exactly.
in
And then
big
Chad
games.
Green gets out of that jam, but it was just like fun. It was, like you felt like it was a team that was on the rise. I mean, at that point, Gary Sanchez was like still good. And obviously Judge has this amazing season. It felt like, all right, baby bombers, like Glaber's on the way, Clint Frazier's not too far behind. Like now we're at the point where like it just kind of feels like not that the growth been stunted, but like I don't know, like they're not really that young anymore. They're not old
Right.
by any
Right.
means, but
But now they got a few years under their belt now. It's not just
definitely
like
look,
right,
they're in a
rookies do nothing.
championship. They're supposedly in a championship window. So like I think we might look back on this a few months from now and be like, not that we overreacted, but the record will improve. That kind of goes that saying, but all along the way we've been talking since opening day, it wasn't about that. But I think that this sheds light to what's going on here is that if we get there, we're not gonna be able to get over the hump. It's just not gonna happen. Like I don't know what else they need to see to realize that this core is probably not gonna get it done.
No, it's not. And like, look, granted, we did have like a pretty tough stretch to kind of open up the
Yeah,
season, having Tampa twice, and even the Jays, who
absolutely.
who a lot of people kind of poo-poo, but the Jays are a pretty good
Yeah.
team. I wouldn't say they're
No,
anything to like sneeze about. They're a pretty solid team.
no.
And now Boston's, you know, all of a sudden very solid.
Yep,
So who knows when we finally play them, what that's going to be like. I'm sure that they'll steal a few games from us, even if they kind of come back to earth or whatever.
yep,
But like, if we can't win any of these series against the Jays or the Rays, I mean, we ain't winning the division.
right.
So, and then who are we going to compete against in the wild card? I mean, there's a lot of good teams in the other divisions. I mean, I don't know. It's just like, you got like the West, you got the Astros, you got the Angels. So
Yeah,
I'm sure one of those teams is probably going to be competing
for
for that one spot.
yep.
I mean, who knows? And then even with the Central, like, I mean,
Yeah,
like we're gonna it's really like I know it is early, but I mean these division games just are so
that's
crucial
the key.
for
Right,
us.
that's the key.
I was just gonna say, like, it's gonna be hard to have a better record than some of these other teams in the other divisions that are gonna be in second place, and we might not even be in second place. We might be in third if we keep losing to the Jays and if Boston's legit. I mean, who knows, man? It's
And
not
I
a
th
good look.
and I think that these other teams, like, they don't fear us. It's like, "Okay, Yankees are on the schedule? Good.
Right.
Great."
Yeah.
Like, and from the Yankees standpoint, it's like, when you're not winning games that Garrett Cole starts, that's a problem. And we're 2 and 2 in Garrett Cole starts so far, and he's been fantastic in basically each start. So, I know that, Luke Voit will come back, which will help, but it's not like he's not gonna save the day. And, Severino comes back later on, Zach Britton. We haven't heard about Miguel Andujar, which honestly, he could be somewhat intriguing just because of the fact that, we're so decimated right now and the offense is anemic. So reinforcements are kind of on the way, but this is really as healthy as we've been. Like that's not injuries are not an excuse here. And
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
like
I mean, and we all know that once Voit and Andujar and all these other people come back, like we're talking about Judge or whoever is going to be hurt. So it's like it's going to
yeah,
offset each other, and it's going to be like So we're never going to have like the fully constructed team until maybe hopefully come postseason time. But I mean, again, it just it just seems like it's going to be the same result inevitably, and it's like how can us as fans see this coming and upper management just be so stubborn to believe that, oh, this is going to work.
yeah,
Like, yeah, no problem. Like, who were the two teams in the World Series last year? Tampa and,
right,
the Dodgers. Like, I mean, what do those teams have that the Yankees don't? I mean, the Dodgers have Mookie Betts, who's one of the greatest, but I mean, like, even that, but the Dodgers have depth,
right. They're so
like
loaded.
the Rays have, like great players. They have depth too in a different way
Right.
than maybe, like the big time teams do. But, like, it's just amazing that, like, like for example, like football, which we both love, is a very copycat kind of league where, like when Sean McVay was big on the Rams, it was like, oh, we all got to hire like the new young head coach. And, I mean, it just seems like, how come like the Yankees didn't kind of do that with some of these top teams in baseball? Instead, they just kind of double down on what they think is going to work, even though it really never has. Because even those series against the Astros, I mean, we didn't really I don't know. It was never we never scored that many runs against some against all their aces. Even, when we were in Yankee State, it wasn't, just the cheating involved. There
No.
was definitely us just not also coming
Yeah, I
showing
mean,
up and
just look at Charlie Morton in game 7, and at that point, Charlie Morton wasn't like the Charlie Morton that we know now, and, like, they couldn't hit Lance McCullers. It wasn't just like Verlander. It's yeah, there's the Yankees are, like, just very one-dimensional in the way that they are as a lineup. There is no diversity. It's very you can attack this team, and you're gonna get the same results. Like, it's just it's insanity at this point. Like, they just keep on doing the same thing, and you're gonna get the same results. It's not just gonna be like, "Oh, well, like, it just, it didn't work out. We'll give it a crack again." No, like, and it's very hard to just watch this play out. Like, when you see it right in front of your eyes and nothing's being changed. Like, just in the interim, like, what can they do? Like, I don't know, switch up the lineup.
but yeah, but
What's the
like what I
move?
mean, with who's gonna come up and step up. I mean, no one has. No one has risen to the occasion.
Is Marcus Tim's getting fired? Like, change, like, do
I
anything?
don't know. Maybe a little brief spark, but
Yeah,
I mean, the team is the team, so,
right,
I feel like they'll still eventually come back to what they are,
right,
like, so I don't know. It's just really yeah, it's like, I don't really, I hate to be like a prisoner of the moment, but I mean, it's just like, hey dude, we got a little NL stretch coming up here, or well, not really a stretch. Hold on, let me
Braves
say.
for a couple
Hey dude, we
games,
got yeah, we got the Braves for a
and
couple
then the
games, and then we go to
Indians.
Cleveland.
Yeah,
Right. So just some outside of the AL East finally.
right.
Some
I'm curious to see how it looks. Again, I'm not like fully optimistic, but I'm at the very least just interested in seeing if that does anything
if we play
different.
any better.
Right.
If we play any better. But I mean, the Braves are not that bad of a
Not at
team,
all. Not at all.
Not at all, and then the Indians are not that bad of a team either.
Right.
So, I mean, we're still playing better teams. I mean, I guess it just would be promising if we, I mean, did there was some kind of improvement against teams outside of division. But I mean, but again, I just feel like it all comes down to the divisions. It's just so crucial for
Right.
us. And if we're gonna keep getting blown out by the Rays, I mean, we have no fucking chance,
Right,
man.
and for people to
I don't
say
see
that
it.
this is a 15-game issue, I don't think is true because this is, to me, carryover from last season. We saw this in all those divisional games where the Rays would just beat us up, and then even the Blue Jays, we we did have success at Yankee Stadium, but those games in Buffalo were like disasters.
Yeah.
So,
And they've gotten better.
yes,
They're a better team
right,
now.
and they're beating
So,
us without
and
George, and, like,
I
George
was just
Springer's
gonna
not
say
even
no
in there.
Springer. Yeah.
So,
And I mean, he's an amazing player. So when he comes back, forget it, man. I mean, that offense is gonna be nasty with Guerrero Jr. I
right.
mean, come on,
This
man. I mean,
division is
that
not gonna be so, especially with Boston doing what they're doing, and even Baltimore, which,
right.
like, Baltimore, they're like 7 and like, they're not
Yeah,
such a
they're
joke.
not god awful.
Right.
Right, right.
I
Yeah.
agree. So, like, we're gonna have to get some stuff done outside the division, but it's always gonna come back to the division. Like, in order for us to get where we wanna get to, we're gonna have to get through the Rays at the bare minimum. And then again, we can't take these other teams lightly either. So they really need to look themselves in the mirror and just, maybe I'm wrong here, but there's just this sense I get that they think that they're better than everyone else. Like, and that can be fine when you actually are. But like, I feel like
Right.
they're not respecting their
Now when you're last in the American
right.
League,
I feel
yeah.
like they're not respecting their opponents. Like I heard quotes in the offseason about like, yeah, like we felt like we were better than the Rays. Why? Why did you feel that way? They
There's no
dominated
right.
you. I mean, I understand that the last game came down to the
In every
wire,
sense of the word.
but
No, but yeah, but still, but but like they did though. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
they were the better
The
team.
way that right, they were the better team, hands down, hands down. And like it's just yeah, it's just sad. It's just sad because, like we grew up with like the dynasty Yankees of the late 90s and stuff like that. And thinking about, like I was talking to my dad about like, imagine like Paul O'Neill took sat, the last game of the series against Toronto to like take an extra day off and blah blah blah. It's just like it sucks because have seen like the success of this team and building a dynasty. And I know that's like old school baseball at this point, but like we like this whole like the Yankees have just turned into like this, like, let's just, buy all these crazy, flashy, expensive players. And most of the time it doesn't work. I mean, it worked in '09, but it was like it just,
Yeah.
we happen to buy all
That
those
was the
people at the
perfect
right
combination,
time.
right? That was the perfect
Right.
combination of still having that core 4,
Right. We
still
still had the core four.
yeah,
Yeah.
like, that
Right.
was the
And then we had like Sabathia and Teixeira and all those guys.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. So that was, like, the perfect blend. But now it's like you look at this roster in terms of just, like, World Series experience. You have Brett Gardner, who on that '09 team was a bench player. He wasn't, like,
Right.
anything big on that team, and he doesn't have a huge role on this team. Then you have, Chapman, who's on the Cubs, who basically almost blew the World Series. So the point being is that you
Yeah.
don't have a team that even that has really won and has that pedigree. So I
Right.
just, I just question the leadership core.
I totally, and I feel like, the Astros and the Rays are just like it's become a mental thing for this team for people like Judge and Sanchez who have had the postseason experience, but these are the two teams that seem to always get in their way, and they can't. And Boston the 1 year too. But anyway, but those are like, the Rays and the Astros seem to be the major two. But there's just like a mental block, I feel like at this point too, where they just like they feel the moment way too much. Like I almost feel like I could see it off of them when they're up at the batter's box. And like you could just see it in Judge that like he just looks like kind of like lost. And yeah, it's tough, man.
Like
It's tough.
just to wrap it up here,
Yeah,
like Michael K, who I'm generally like a fan of. Like he always says on the show, like, oh, like
me too.
the he is always concerned with like the starting pitching, which is valid, but he always kind of makes him, well, like I'd be shocked if like the offense is a problem. And yeah,
He
like
always was saying that the offense
always,
would come at some point.
yeah, like they'll improve, of course, but like the point is, like whenever I see this team lose in the postseason, in the elimination games, or just in general, the big reason why we lose is because the offense just goes completely flat and they strike out all over the place. They can't score runs every time. So it's like,
Yeah, yeah, no, exactly, because I feel like, yeah, like the last few postseason games that I remember, it was like the pitching actually came through for us for the most part. I mean, maybe gave up 3 or 4 runs, but, with the juggernaut offense that we're supposed to have, you're supposed to at least tie that ball game up and send it into extras and hope for the best, but
and our
I
core
don't
just
know.
isn't our core. Like, I guess when I compare it to the Astros,
Yeah.
cheating aside, like
Yeah, 'cause they're still a team.
Correa, Bregman, Altuve, I could go Brantley,
Springer even when he was
Springer,
there,
the yeah, Springer.
Right.
They have this kid Tucker, Alvarez. Like the core is just better. Sure, I guess you could say that we have like 1 through 9 when we're going is decent for sure, but like that core, like Judge, you can pitch to him, like you can, and Stanton, and down the line, that core is not as good as certainly Mookie Betts and
Yeah,
Justin Turner and Cody Bellinger and Seager and on we go. But yeah,
right, right.
again, same old, same
Yeah.
old.
Exactly. It's the same old, same old. And it's just like, because of the success of Judge in that rookie year and Stanton being just a big name, as obviously from the Marlins and then coming here, it's like it's all just like on paper, it looks great. But it's like as as someone that's watched this team that's basically been the same for the last 3 years or so, it's like, no, it just doesn't. There's something's got to give because it's not working. And I don't know. I almost feel like, it's like, of course, as a diehard fan, I don't want us to like not make the playoffs or something, but it's like you're almost like because you feel like nothing's gonna change, you almost want it to kind of something bad to happen. Maybe we get just bounced in the play-in game or something, but just it's like I don't see, if we keep just peaking at the ALDS, I feel like a lot is gonna stay the same because it's always just gonna be like, "Oh, well, there was just that one inning and the guy, it
Right.
was just a bad
Short
outing from that
samples,
pitcher," or
small sample
right,
size.
these batters have a really bad average against left-handers that throw
Exactly.
the slider
Super
outside or
specific.
whatever, like some stat that's gonna, justify why we ended up being that way, but I don't know. You know, with teams like the Mets and stuff like that on the rise, it's like it's hard to like just see the Yankees like, becoming what they've been. It's like,
Yeah, if we ever be
our
yeah.
Met fan friends are talking shit, and it's like,
Yeah,
we, it's
whatever.
hard to,
I
yeah,
think the
what's
Yankees
that?
have been more bad than, like, the Mets, like, again, they'll be a good team, but, it yeah, God forbid if we ever became the Mets, then I don't know what I'd do with myself.
No, man, I don't
That would
know.
be really, really bad, but, yeah, I mean, look,
That'd be rough.
as far as the Mets go, I mean, we've seen that before where, like, April I mean, the Mets are the king of April. I mean, we've seen this
Yeah, right.
this is and what are they, like, 7-4? I mean, like,
Yeah, it's really
again.
not, yeah, right. Not the Dodgers,
Right,
like
exactly. That's the thing. It sucks to be in the National League because how the hell are you getting through the Dodgers? Like at least the Yankees could like scrape their way through, maybe
we can make it work,
as bad
maybe
as it is.
finagle
I mean,
somehow.
so
Yeah.
yeah, no, fuck the
Uh,
Mets.
yeah. Real quick before we go, how do you feel about the fact that they kept the, extra innings rule with the man on second base?
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it.
Yeah,
And in terms like everyone deals with it, right? So it's not like a Yankee
right.
centric issue, but just yeah, the point of it.
Totally.
Yeah, I it's such a key part of the game. Like implement like you I think you might have had this idea, I can't remember, like, instead of a runner being on second, maybe just have a runner be on first.
Right, something like that, or just, like, even let them play normal baseball for, like, 2 innings, and then, like, in the 11th inning or something, or, like, the 12th inning or whatever, then you put the man on second because at that point, it's like the game is starting to maybe extend itself to a point where you don't want it to extend itself. So, like, okay, keep the guy, keep it normal baseball for the 10th and the 11th, and then maybe incorporate the man on base in the 12th,
Right.
or, I guess, like, it's just like, in terms of, like, speeding up the game, I just feel like that's, like, the wrong way to speed up the game. Like, to me, like, the pitcher clock thing, I think would be great because there's been so many situations where the pitcher just
Definitely.
steps off the bag and I know it's all, like, mind game stuff, I get it, as being a person that watched baseball for so long, but, if you're trying to like, speed up the game, I just feel like the man on second is not the right
Right.
way to
And like
do
you
it.
said, that's more of the issue. It's more of like pace of play throughout the game. Like once you get to the 10th inning,
Yeah,
what
right,
is
like, who
that gonna
cares
do
if
at
there's
that
a
point?
yeah,
And if you want to start doing that, maybe in the 12th or 13th, like if you want to implement the man on second, like don't do it in the 10th.
that's what
Yeah,
I
I
mean.
don't
It's
love
like
it.
too soon. It's like because all you need is a single and then, like it's over,
Right,
or
exactly.
whatever. They have a run and then the home team has a
Like,
chance.
sure,
But
it's the right thought
yeah,
process in terms of speeding up the game. We need to speed it up. It's definitely, I'm sure for non-baseball fans, it's tough, but that's not
yeah,
the answer. And I was hoping
yeah.
that maybe it'd be like sort of a 1 year deal, with the randomness of last season, and
That's what I thought
and
too.
then they also
I got it for last year, but I was surprised that they
right, and
kept
then
it.
another thing that which I'm also I don't love, but I get it, is these 7 inning double headers.
The double headers. Yeah, yeah.
Like it's different.
That one's tough too.
It's different than
Yeah,
9 innings. I mean, you're I just think
it is.
it's like, of course, like it's not in some ways it shouldn't be worth the same as a 9 inning win. I mean, obviously, there's no way that you could ever
You're right.
implement that, but it's extremely different. And it's not just one
Right,
game, it's
and,
two.
and most right, because and right, and most of the times it's only because of a rain delay or something like that, so it's like, because of a rain delay now, it's a 7-inning game, it's not what I mean? Like, they're not, like, written in usually, you know what I mean? So, like, it's always, like, it's just unfortunate that it's, like,
Right.
only because of a postponement.
Which is another thing. Honestly, like
Yeah,
these stadiums should
yeah.
honestly probably all be
Dome, or,
retractable
like,
roofs.
hybrids. Right, right. Yep,
I mean, baseball is
they
just
should
like
be.
so far behind the times. It's not even funny.
It's aggravating, bro, because, like, I feel like I'm such a, like, fan of baseball, and it's so, like, shitty to see how it gets so overlooked by most of the
Yeah.
major sports news outlets because it's just not it's very slow,
Yeah.
which we just were talking about, and, like, right, it's just, like, a lot of things are just so, like, antiquated, like, the way that these umpires are just blowing calls and stuff like that. I know we've talked about
Right.
robot
Yeah, the
umpire
balls and
or,
strikes
like,
are
whatever.
terrible.
Some of
Oh
them
my
are just
god.
so egregious, and it's like, dude, like, how are you And it's just like, he sits up there and calls it, and then he's just like, like, "What are you gonna do about it?"
Right.
And then I don't know.
Exactly. They're assholes about it too. Like they'll kick you out of yeah, it's like it's about
Right.
them.
If anything, have younger empires, like a fucking 75-year-old man. I'm
Right.
sorry. I just
Yeah.
feel
We
like
need to see
his
Fat Joe
eyesight is just
West.
not gonna be right. Joe, exactly. That fucking
Yeah.
asshole. Oh, and he just seems like such an asshole
Yeah.
too.
He's a dick.
It's not an easy job,
Yeah.
but
Angel
it's
Hernandez,
like,
forget about it.
yeah, yeah. It's I don't know, man. But baseball needs to get its shit together overall. But
Yeah.
anyway, well, we could talk about this all day.
Yeah. It's been a tough start, obviously for the Yanks, but you know, as much as I love doing these with you, hopefully we won't, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully we could do it like one of these where it's actually positive. Maybe maybe if we go on a tear or something, we'll hop on and kind of eat crow about some of the
Oh
things we
yeah,
may
I
have.
will
I hope
gladly
so.
oh,
I was gonna say, yeah, right?
gladly prove me wrong and I will be thrilled.
Yeah, for sure.
100%.
Cause
But hey,
I don't know. Yeah,
happy to have you on, and I hope that, we can get Pops on
appreciate it,
soon
man.
because I know, he's a diehard and,
Yes.
definitely want to get him on the
Yeah.
show as well.
He has plenty to say. So,
Definitely.
and we'll make sure to have the censor button handy in case anything gets a little out of hand with him. But
Yep,
no, yeah.
100%.
All right,
All
man.
right.
Appreciate it.
Sounds good, brother.
Take care.